Greetings, Crusaders. It is I, Marshall Bohemond, and we need to talk about this man. For those who aren't aware, the man in the picture, well, his name is right there, is Adi Shankar. Who is Adi Shankar? He's a edgy Reddit atheist. He is a bad writer. He makes crappy Netflix cartoons and tries to pass them off as anime, and he hates Christians. That's really what it boils down to. He hates Christians. He hates you. The reason he is, on my shit list right now, he's not really on my shit list. That is giving him altogether too much credit. But basically what it boils down to is he has a history in his cartoons of portraying Christians as evil. The Christians is evil, God is not existing, etc. He's very infamous for his portrayal of the Catholic Church in Castlevania, the Castlevania cartoon. Note, not an anime, a cartoon, and where he generally just portrays Catholics as ignorant, backwards, sadistic, evil people who like to kill innocents because kind of they're just there, who deliberately suppress education and the sciences. Let's just ignore the fact that the sciences were reintroduced to the world through Catholicism. But let's not let facts get in the way of Adi Shankar's blatantly ignorant propaganda. But yeah, so he portrays the Catholic Church is evil in Castlevania, and this is reflective of his opinion, because this is not him writing a character. This is him writing what he thinks, what he believes. And by the way, props to Shankar for when they're burning Dracula's wife at the stake in Castlevania, for having her effectively not verbatim but effectively quote Jesus. Yeah, that's they know not what they do, Father, from the Bible. Let's ignore. Let's just classy move there, Shankar. Classy move. But yeah, the main thing being that he portrays the church as evil. He portrays God as either uncaring or straight up non-existent, as shown when a priest of the church basically prays to God and does nothing, and the demon basically says oh, God doesn't exist, that's why he won't answer you. And also, let's not forget his attempts to disconnect vampirism from demons, from the forces of hell, with the whole, oh, vampires are just hyper-evolved predators, that's why they don't like crosses, because right angles confuse them. It's like, well, first of all, I'm gonna say confuses. First of all, who in this time period talked like this? That's a good question. That's another good question. But yeah, look, I'm sorry, but you tried to take God and God out of the picture so much here that you basically create a world where any vampire is going to have a stroke and die if it walks into a house because of all the right angles. How is Dracula supposed to live in his own castle? Seriously, the castle is full of right angles. It's right. It is right angles until the cows come home. How is he not having a seizure on the floor constantly in his own castle? But this is how desperate you were to prevent making God responsible for the defeat of vampires. Because look, remember, he portrays the church as either working with demons or God not existing. The vampires aren't hurt by the cross because it's holy and pure. They're hurt because, oh, they can't handle right angles. God has no actual hand in the story at all. Despite, facts that, in Castlevania, and this is the funny part, the character Sypha, Sypha in the cartoon is effectively a gypsy. She's, a traveling, traveling nomad who knows magical spells. In Castlevania, she was a member of the church. she was a member of the church. She, when she went missing, they called the Belmonts to find her. In the games, actual canon, not Adi Shankar's fan fiction, the church is a force of good against Dracula. The Belmonts fight for the church and for mankind. Where in the cartoon, the Belmonts were kicked out of the church for like practicing heretical methods or something. It's like what it's nothing they don't do in the actual games, but of course Shankar never actually played the games. But yeah, that's the general air of the Castlevania cartoon. It is anti-church, it is anti-god, it is pro-demon. I mean, don't forget the fact that despite being the greatest genocider of his era, Dracula gets reunited with his wife and gets to have a happy ending. Because of course, right? Because of course. But all the same, Shankar's, predisposition toward, let's be honest with ourselves, his hatred of the church continues into his newest cartoon, the Devil May Cry cartoon. And this was emphasized in a clip released by Discussing Film, in which a character, a demon. I will fully admit I'm not as well versed in Devil May Cry lore as I wish I could be, but that said, I have at the very least played what is it? Some of the games. Was it 1-3, and some of 4. I have not played 5. I do not pretend to be an authority here. But that said, one thing I do know is that a major point of Devil May Cry is that Sparta was the only good demon. That's the entire point of Sparta as a character. And the new cartoon by Shankar puts out a clip where a demon who is stealing Sparta's sword, which is held in a church, effectively says the line, "Oh, we're not really evil. You humans are just bigoted, and that's why demons don't like you." Which, I criticized. I criticized on Twitter. But the funny part is, Shankar himself, I was not talking to him. I was not commenting to him. I was not replying to him. He was not involved in the discussion in any way, shape, or form. But apparently found out about my post, which took off, I fully admit. I fully admit that much. So maybe he noticed it that way. But he found my post and decided he was going to call it a bad faith take. His show isn't saying religion is bad. Never mind that that's what the demon says himself, that the church and humans are just bigots and that demons aren't actually evil. And that's why demons hate humans. But, his prior history in the Castlevania series of portraying the church as evil, as worshiping a at most, at worst non-existent god and at most uncaring god. And, just, yeah. Like, Shankar, this is what you've written. I'm going by what you've written. And I said as much to him, that he wrote the text. The text is clear. It's not our fault we see it for what it is. He needs to do better, rather than get, mad at people who are simply calling out what he's written. Because that's the thing. If you are a writer, you can't bring up, oh, this is what I meant, versus the text you've written. The text is objective. You can't argue against the text. This is why Death of the Author is a false concept. Because all interpretation, of the text, and outside what it says, is just fan fiction. And much like a goldfish that can't live outside the fishbowl, your interpretation can't live outside your own head. Outside the entire, outside the good graces of what is essentially consensus with other people who might agree with your interpretation, but that interpretation dies in the face of the text. Shankar, your text is very clear. You hate religion. That is what you've written. That is what you espouse. So when we see it in your Devil May Cry cartoon, yeah, naturally, we're going to think that's what you say, because that's your opinion as you have shared before, as you have written as the author on board in your own text. So, can I recommend Shankar's animations? No. They're not anime, they're cartoons. They're not made in Japan. They're not made by the Japanese. Are they good? Well, I watched Castlevania. I watched the whole thing. it was pretty awful. I'm not gonna lie. It starts okay outside of the very clear hatred for the church, and then it just gets worse as the series goes on. By the end, it's just straight up girl bossing and, you know, the usual woke nonsense, girl bossing, insertion of completely nonsensical LGBT stuff, the usual 9 yards, you know. And it's just all so much, you know, empty hype moments and killer soundtrack, though. I'll give it that. But, you know, that getting your soundtrack right is the bare minimum. But still, I can't recommend any of his shows. I will not recommend Devil May Cry either. But yeah, on that note, yeah, avoid Eddie Shankar stuff. By the time this is uploaded, tomorrow, I'll be, you know, by the time this is uploaded, the day after, on Wednesday, the 26th of March, I will be doing a live stream to take apart Shankar's equally cringe short film, Power/Rangers, which is his idea of a, you know, air quotes, serious, mature remake of Power Rangers. So, you know, if you're making it in time for that video, I hope you'll tune in. Or that stream, I hope you'll tune in. But, you know, other than that, this has been Marshall Bohemond. I hope you have a good day. And yeah, Eddie Shankar is a hack fraud. I will catch y'all later. And yeah, take care, everyone.